Yesterday's slide. Okay, so we were trying to understand about this modulation and multiple access relevant to the satellite communication. So, but before that, we should understand them in a general sense. So, there are different types of modulation techniques. In the analog modulation, we have AM, PM, FM, where the main point is that they are referred to as continuous wave modulation. Okay, so CW modulation, because that C of t is a, the carrier signal is a sinusoidal wave. It is continuous, and also this message signal is also continuous. So this, therefore, these are called as analog modulation or continuous wave modulation schemes. So then we had the pulse modulation scheme, where three types again: PAM, PWM, and PPM. So there, the message signal was the analog form, continuous wave form, but the C of t, which is the carrier, is in the form of a train of pulses. So that's why we call them as pulse modulation schemes or pulse analog modulation scheme. So then after this we have the digital baseband frequencies. So I told you baseband is the raw frequencies which are unmodulated. So for the audio or speech signals it is below 4 kilohertz. So always for most of these telecom applications, whether in landline or mobile, especially in landline, because digital baseband is like through wired transmission. There are no antennas involved. So wired transmission may be through copper cable or coaxial cables. So there, what we do is we apply these kind of methods: PCM, DPCM, delta modulation or adaptive delta modulation, and convert this message signal, which is in the continuous form, through the sampling, quantization and encoding blocks. We get those bits. So how much sampling rate you are following, the larger the sampling rate, you will get better representation of your signal, and higher the number of bits for quantization, you will get better representation. So it's basically common sense. So during the sampling, what we are telling is we are sampling the signal at regular intervals. So if you sample it so often, then you are getting a true replica of your, the samples will be close by each other, and obviously you will capture a lot of information about that signal if you increase the sampling rate, or if you take frequent samples from that signal. So no rocket science in that. Similarly, quantization also, if you increase the number of bits for quantization, you are increasing the number of allowed levels of voltages. So if you have only one bit for quantization, some mad manager, if he says only one bit is allowed for quantization, it's very easy in the image processing. If you consider an image, if I give you only one bit for quantization, then you can represent only two color levels or two levels of amplitude. One is black and other one is white. And suppose if I give you two bits for quantization, and then you can represent black, white, and in between two gray levels you can represent in your image. So it's best understood with image processing. Generally we do it for speech processing also, but it's also valid for image processing. So suppose if I uh, give you 10 bits for quantization, then you are lucky enough, you can show 10 2 power 10 colors in your image. So 2 power 10 is how much? Very much. 1024 colors you can show in your image. So obviously, as you show more color information, the it becomes a true replica of the event or the scene which you are capturing. So that is how you get these bits. Okay, so after getting these bits, we either go for this on off coding or polar NRZ. So actually bipolar NRZ is something else. So yesterday what I meant was only polar NRZ, where one is indicated with plus A and zero is indicated with minus A volts. So there was some problem with on off keying, so that we have seen. So then these are all the digital baseband raw frequencies. Suppose if you take a TV signal at its raw frequencies without modifying anything, so then that is digital baseband. Sometimes when you need a wireless transmission, then we go for the digital band pass. So band pass is like modulated version. We are shifting the frequency of this base band signal to a pass band. So we take a high frequency carrier. Why do we do that? Is yesterday I told you that antenna cannot take a discrete or digital signal. It needs a continuous waveform. So these values which are there, we modulate them onto the high frequency carrier. If it's ASK, it looks something like this. If it's 1, then this carrier is present. If it's 0, then carrier is not present, and so on like that. Then FSK is, if you use two different frequencies to indicate 0 and 1, then that is called FSK. PSK is like if you indicate 0 with a 0 degree phase shift and 1 with a 180 degrees phase shift. So like if you have 0, you transmit AC cos omega CT, and if you have 1, you transmit minus AC cos omega CT. So yeah, sir, in one textbook they have given the reverse one. Yeah, you can also reverse it. That is your wish. Basically, we need two symbols to transmit it. Okay, so this was the thing which we studied yesterday. Then the next one is about the radio. So generally radio means not that radio, FM radio or AM radio. So radio is a general term to indicate the wireless medium, to indicate the wireless channel. Okay, so either in mobile communication or in satellite communication or wherever. So radio is referred as the wireless channel, and there are many similarities between the road and the radio. So we can have many comparisons, similarities between road and the radio. So which road are you talking about? Is the normal road or the highway which we have? So signal bandwidth. So at this juncture, it is imperative to understand few definitions. Although you know these definitions in some other context, so we have to pull them together to understand the further things. So signal bandwidth is generally defined as the range of frequencies in which, so range of frequencies in which or over which, within which, okay, within which 95% of the signal energy is concentrated. Signal energy is concentrated. Okay, so that is the bandwidth. So suppose if I am talking something, then the frequencies may range from 300 hertz to anywhere up to 10 kilohertz, but the significant portion lies only till 3400 hertz. Okay, so that significant part is called as the signal bandwidth, where 95% of the energy is available. So there is negligible amount of energy in the remaining frequencies, so we ignore those kind of frequencies. So yesterday also I have told you, in most of the landline networks they limit our voice signal to 4 kilohertz. So they pass it through a low pass filter, or what is that? Some other name is there. So once you pass through low pass filter, which has a cutoff frequency of 4 kilohertz, only the contents which are significant they will be retained. Otherwise, if you have a high fidelity or high HD audio, nowadays people are talking about HD voice. So what is HD voice? So they try to capture the whole thing up to 10 kilohertz. Often not so much required in telecommunication, even because with the normal below 4 kilohertz only we are able to understand what they are speaking. So voice does not need that much intelligence, because just you are speaking with someone else, so they can understand what you are up to. Even if the bit errors are occurring, they can make out what you are going to express. Same is not case with the video and the data. So actually there are three types of signals which we try to transmit every time. They are classified as voice or video or data. So that advantage is not there with the data. Suppose if you are having some computer to computer communication, then there we cannot expect many bit errors to occur, so that will damage the performance of the system, because the receiver itself is another computer or another router kind of thing, so it needs error free communication. Similarly, when you have video, so in the video also we can make out if there are some noise or something. It's obviously picture is there, so we can make out there is some error in that. So generally for the cable TV operations, they perform like they ensure that all for all these type of things there are something called as grade of service. So if you see the telecommunication or the mobile communication, there is something called as grade of service. So level 1 is level 1, level 2, like this. So level 5, I think it's like worst to best signal quality. So then level 5 is the best one, but generally they go for level 3, which is giving an acceptable performance. So similarly in the cable TV industry also, the things start from 35 dB, 40 dB, 55 dB. So generally they want the signal quality to be above, or the signal to noise ratio should be above 45 dB uh, for good quality reception. Okay, so from the satellite head end, so the satellite which is providing the service to the cable TV operator, that is called satellite head end. So that head has to send something around 50 dB. So this satellite cable TV operator gets above, like above 45 dB, and in the distribution network some signal is lost. So even though all those things are lost, still the end receiver, the customer gets above 45 dB. So that is how the links are designed. So if you want a cheap quality service, then you have to go for a low SNR value. Okay. So nowadays there is no cable TV. Everything is set-top box only. Direct. That's why it's called as direct to home, DTH. No cable operator is involved in that. Okay, so signal bandwidth is that one. So generally, what we try to do is try to keep this bandwidth. So this you can compare with the width of a vehicle or car or whatever, two-wheeler. So how much wide it is. So then channel bandwidth is like the range of frequencies. So this channel bandwidth is similar to the definition of bandwidth in amplifiers or antennas. So the range of frequencies over which the gain is constant. Range of frequencies over which the channel gain is constant. So you define two frequencies F1 and F2, and then you tell that in between F1 and F2 the channel or the system is offering stable or constant gain. So this is gain mod h of f, frequency response basically. What is frequency response? If someone has attended my ACS class, they will know response to frequency is called frequency response. So how this system is behaving at different system, so different frequencies, that is the frequency response. And this difference between f2 minus f1, that gives the channel bandwidth, where the channel is showing constant gain in between these two frequencies. So if you go out of this range, then the channel response is changing, which we don't want. So here this channel bandwidth or system bandwidth should be designed as wide as possible. So system should be designed with as wide as possible. Here the signal bandwidth should be taken care that as narrow as possible. Okay. So that's why we are cutting this. So there are two types of channels, band limited and power limited channels. So band limited is you don't have much spectrum. So what we do is we try to reduce the signal bandwidth so that if each user occupies a smaller portion of the spectrum, then we can accommodate more number of users within the allotted spectrum. So that is band limited, which is generally followed in the telephony and telecom networks. On the other hand, satellite networks sometimes they are power limited. So we cannot expect to transmit more power from the satellite communication link. So there the parameters are somewhat different. Okay, so overall, what should be the relation between the channel bandwidth and the signal bandwidth for proper communication? So it's no twist here, general common sense. Channel bandwidth should be more than the signal bandwidth. So because channel, if it's constant for large time, then each of these signals will be, so first user needs 4 kilowatts, so maybe from here to here, then here to here. So if the signal is 4 kilowatts and your channel bandwidth is 3 kilohertz, so then what will happen? Let us see. So this is what channel bandwidth, let us say it is only 3 kilohertz, whereas our signal is needing more than that, 4 kilohertz. So it's not up to scale, but just imagine. So now what is happening, if you see the channel gain, what is channel bandwidth definition? The range of frequencies over which gain is constant. So channel is constant only till this portion, and after that the channel response is changing. So channel is like attenuation is starting after those frequencies, but still you have your information in that out of that. So your signal is having more content than the bandwidth of the channel. So obviously what will happen, these frequencies of your signal will be attenuated severely, and this side also it will be severely attenuated, and only the middle frequencies will be provided with the necessary gain. So this is undesirable feature. So it's something like on the two sides of the road you have this big some what do you say, yeah, tunnel. Okay, so tunnel is there and this much width of the tunnel, so road basically, but this time you have to imagine a tunnel is there, and obviously a lorry which is more wider than the tunnel cannot go inside. So right, so that is the meaning. For proper communication, channel bandwidth should be more than signal bandwidth. And to accommodate a large number of users, a large number of vehicles on the road, what we need is we need a very wider road, right? So if you have a very wider road, like a highway, 4 lane or 6 lane or 8 lane highway, so then that is one method to increase the number of users, and otherwise you have to reduce the width of the vehicle as much as possible so that more vehicles can pass through the lanes very easily. So these two are the parameters which we every time try to ensure. On the one hand we try to increase the channel bandwidth, and the other hand we try to decrease the signal bandwidth as much as possible without of course compromising the quality of the signal. So so if this road is wider, then what will happen? First thing is you can accommodate more number of users, or second thing is if there are not many cars on the road, one can go very fast, right? So similarly, if you have a channel which is very wide, so if you have a channel whose bandwidth is very wide, then it is called as wideband. So wideband channels, obviously it can support more number of users, and if it's allotted to a single user, then he can expect very fast data transfers. So generally this is wideband. Commercially it is called as broadband. Okay, so we want some crazy terminology for impact, right? So commercially we have to create some impact, so that's why they call it as broadband. Obviously when your channel bandwidth is high, either you can support many users or you can allot large chunk of bandwidth for a single user or for a few users, right? Okay, So then related to this is a higher order modulation. So yesterday we have seen some of the things like this is BPSK, binary phase shift gain, where 0 is indicated with a 0 degree phase shift and 1 is indicated with a 180 degrees phase shift. And the constellation diagram looks like this. So there are only two symbols, 0 and 1. So 1 bit per symbol can be transmitted. Otherwise, you may have QPSK, where quadrature phase shift gain, where there are four symbols 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. So you may represent this 0, 0 as some 45-degree phase shift, this one, and 0, 1 you may represent with this. So you can assign the different phase shifts for this. And here what happens is for each symbol there are 2 bits. So QPSK is 2 bits per symbol. So within each symbol you are able to transmit 2 bits. So QPSK is little faster than BPSK, 2 times faster. And otherwise you have this 8PSK, where 8 phases are available and you can combine 3 bits at a time, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. So what is the meaning of this? How come all these things have come? So yesterday we were talking like this continuous wave has to be converted into the digital, right? Sampling, quantization and encoding. So after that you get those bits. So those bits, if you want to transmit in the wireless medium, you have to perform this kind of ASK, FSK, PSK kind of things for the band pass transmission. So out of that, PSK is preferred because it has low probability of error. So now if I see this 0, if I'm using a BPSK system, I will just modulate it with uh, 0 degree carrier like AC cos omega ct. If I see 1, I will modulate it with minus AC cos omega ct. That is BPSK. Then QPSK, it reads 2 symbols at a time, 0, 1. So if it sees 0, 1, it will modulate with that. Uh, how do you get that phase shift is AC cos omega ct plus inside pi by 4 or 2 pi by 4, 3 pi by 3 pi by 4 is this one, 5 pi by 4 is this one, 7 pi by 4 is this one. So then if you have 8 PSK system, it reads 3 inputs at a given time, 0, 1, 1. So once it sees 0, 1, 1, in this table somewhere you have 0, 1, 1. Okay, here only. So this is 000, this is this one. So this one is the 0, 1, 1. It will modulate using that waveform. So basically these PSK systems, they are called as constant modulus systems because the amplitude of all these waves is same, AC only. That's why all these are lying on the circumference of the circle. So because the amplitude is magnitude is same, there is no variation in the magnitude, so all these points are located on the circle. So why suddenly this has come and what is the need for understanding this? So otherwise sometimes we can go for a combined system, like this is 16 quadrature amplitude modulation. So here along with the phase, the amplitude is also varied. So each of the symbols is represented with a different phase and different amplitude. So you get something like this, and this is no more a constant locus thing or a constant modulus thing, because we are changing the amplitudes of the symbols also. Some of them may be at AC, some of them may be at AC by root 2, some of them at minus AC by root 2. So we are also playing with the amplitude as well as the phase of that signal. So those are called as quadrature amplitude modulation. So this is also the same thing, 64 QAM. Now, what is the need for this higher order modulation is, so there is, if the channel supports adaptive modulation and coding. So if channel supports, if the wireless channel, all these are wireless only. So if wireless channel supports adaptive modulation and coding, then what you can do is, if whenever the channel is good, you feel that channel response is good. Whenever channel is good, so this channel is highly time varying, so sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad. So whenever channel is good, what you can do is you can go for a higher order modulation. So suppose now you are operating in BPSK and after 10 minutes the channel is perceived to be very good using the channel response. Then you can increase from BPSK to maybe QPSK or even 8PSK because the channel is good. You go for higher order modulation. And why we go for higher order modulation? It increases the rate of data transfer. So it increases the data rates or the speed of transfer, because earlier within one symbol I was transmitting only one bit per symbol using BPSK, whereas 8PSK what I can do is 3 bits per symbol. So within the same amount of time I am able to send 3 times the more number of bits. So it is definitely faster. So it increases the data rates, and then it will again sense the channel continuously. It will be sensing. So whenever channel is bad, channel response is not good, you have to come down to the basic version, like from 8PSK you have to slowly come down to QPSK, and then you have to come to BPSK. So all this you can do only when there is a possibility of adaptive modulation and coding in the uh, communication protocol. So I think generally 3G and 4G systems have this, and I think recent satellite communications also they are trying to incorporate. So what happens is you can take the advantage of the channel behavior every time if you just fix to BPSK. So it might so happen that at the beginning of the communication the channel is very bad, in a bad state, and therefore you have fixed it with the BPSK. But after some time progresses, if the channel has become very good, if there is no fading in the channel, there is no interference, then you can increase the speed by going for this higher order modulation. But the main condition is that the channel should be good. Otherwise what will happen is, the if the channel is bad and still if you increase the, if higher order modulation is chosen even when the channel is bad, then it results in errors. Channel is bad, it results in error, bit errors. Okay. So 0 may be perceived as 1 and 1 may be perceived as 0 when you get errors. So therefore the essential thing is that we should monitor the channel response, and only whenever it is good then only you have to go for the higher order modulation. So here it comes to our mind. So this is similar to the road also, like when you are starting, if you see that there is heavy traffic you go very slow, and after some point you see that there is no traffic, you change your gears and go somewhat fast, and again if you see that many people are coming, then you slow down. So that advantage is offered in the communication systems using this adaptive modulation encoding. So what happens if the road is highly traffic or bumpy road? So bumpy or very much crowded traffic if you have, and still if you go fast, what will happen is, you know what will happen, right? So you may go and collide with someone and you will get accident. So similarly here also, when the channel is bad, if you try to increase the speed of the communication, if you want to go for a higher order modulation, it will cause bit errors. So sir, why these bit errors are causing? Because if you see, suppose if you go from 16 QAM to the 64 QAM, here how many symbols are there? Only 16 symbols are there, and the distance between the symbols is some amount, like some value. And if you go for a higher order modulation within the same space, within the same transmit power, what happens is these will be very much shrinked. So these points will be very near to each other. So at the receiver, so if this point was transmitted, but due to noise or due to channel errors, so this point may slightly be taken here, or it may change to here during the reception. So the receiver might take this as this point. Okay. So basically, since many symbols are there in the given region, the symbols are very close to each other. Since they are very close to each other, the receiver may interpret them wrongly. Here, the receiver has whole A to minus A to confuse. Like there should be a like tremendous change in the received signal from if it has to pursue AC as minus AC. So there should be a lot of change here. There is some amount of change is required. As you go higher and higher, these points become closer to enough. So even a small amount of error drives the receiver to think that something else was received, some other symbol was received, and therefore the probability of errors increases when the channel is not in a good condition. So constellation points, these are called as this whole diagram is called constellation. Draw the constellation diagram of 16 QAM. So you have to draw this one. So constellation points are too close to each other in higher order modulation. Too close to each other in higher order modulation. Therefore, what happens is even a slight change in the received, even a slight change in the received signal, slight change in the received signal amplitude causes the receiver to pursue a different symbol. Okay, so therefore we should not go for higher order modulation when the situation is bad. Okay, so generally all this you might have studied in digital communication, but there what happens is the problem is you will get lost in those equations and probability of error calculations, and the main message will not be delivered. So here in this kind of elective subjects like satellite communication, we have the option to review all of them and to understand the essence of why these things are taken like that. So then we understood what is multiplexing and multiple access basically, but still there is lot of debate and lot of confusion, as I told you. So, but basically you can think that multiplexing is the possibility of sending many signals over the same communication link, and multiple access is how well you are trying to manage these unlimited users who are competing for the limited resources. How much is the time? Okay. Okay, I will just show you that. Yesterday someone has asked whether we can study from Varsha Agarwal textbook. So after that I have gone through the textbook and found that it is presented in a good, easy to understand manner. So we can continue with that. Yeah, so types of information is this voice signals. So in the voice signals, even 10 power minus 4 bit error rate is acceptable. But if you go for the data and video, then we need very less error rates. So 10 power minus 6 or 10 power minus 9. And if you have financial transactions, then 10 power minus 12 bit rate is needed. So like whenever you do bank or IRCTC transactions or any transaction for that matter, so 10 power minus 12 accuracy is needed. So in how many is what is 10 power 10 power 12? So 10 power 12 is very large number. So out of those many bits, only one bit should go in error. So that is the requirement. But consider the speech quality. Even 10 power minus 4 is also acceptable. because the kind of situation is different. We are just speaking with someone else. If at all he does not understand what we are telling, he will only ask us to repeat what we are telling. So need not really worry in a voice communication system. But in data and video, we need to ensure even that video also, I told you, there are different levels for the operation: 35 dB, 45 dB, 55 dB. So then this was the review of AM and FM. We don't want that. All this we don't want. Pulse communication system also we don't want. All this you studied somewhere else. In digital pulse communication is these four things: PCM, DPCM. So that also we have covered. Need not worry about all these block diagrams and all this. Then there is sampling theorem and Shannon's theorem. So these two are important. One is the Nyquist theorem. So you know this Nyquist theorem also in some other manner. I don't know whether you have been taught or not. But basically this one is telling, in order to, so we are going for sampling the signals. So what is sampling? You know, right? Yeah, this is sampling. You are just collecting the samples of the signal at regular intervals. So 0 TS, 2 TS, 3 TS, 4 TS, and so on. You are collecting the samples. That is first stage. Then second stage is quantizing. So during the quantization, you will fix the amplitudes to the nearest allowed values. So you don't allow 0.707 or 2.93, 3.82. So all that will be uh, map it to the nearest allowed value. So during quantization, we set the predefined values which we are going to allow. So I can say that I am going to allow 0.5, 2.5, 4.5, 6.5. So then whatever other values we are getting during the sampling, let us say this one is some 9.9. So 9.9 is not allowed in my list. So I will match it to 8.5 or 10.5. Then similarly I will suppose this is 10.9. So 10.9 is not there in my list, so I have to approximate it to 10.5. So like that, if I allow more voltages, if I allow more levels of accepted voltages, then obviously the approximation will be to nearest number. So instead of 0.5, 1.5, instead of 0.5 next to 2.5, I can go for 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. So then what will happen is this 9.9 may be approximated to 9.5. Instead of approximating it to 8.5 or 10.5, now I have the option to approximate it to 9.5. So the error in approximation reduces. So that's how you get more clarity if you increase the number of bits. So this we know how many levels are there and how many bits are needed. Okay. So then for that sampling, Nyquist theorem says that if FM is the maximum content in the frequency content of the signal, you have to take at least more than or equal to 2 FM samples per second for proper reconstruction. Then the Shannon theorem is also very famous in communication. So no one has uh, so without this no one has completed the engineering. So what he says is the capacity of the channel is given by the bandwidth and log to 1 plus signal to noise ratio. So basically if you know the bandwidth of the channel bandwidth, and if you know how much signal to noise ratio you are sending, so then you can determine the channel capacity in bits per second. So many bits per second if you send, then there won't be any problem in the communication. If you send more bits per second than this capacity of the channel, then you will get bit errors. Okay, so that is the Shannon's theorem. Okay, so then this ASK, FSK, all this is ASK. When you have 1, this waveform is there. When you have 0, nothing is there. Then FSK is like when you have 1, you send high frequency. When you have 0, you send low frequency. PSK is BPSK. When you have 1 0 degree phase shift, when you have 0 180 degrees phase shift, it's going down. Then DPSK, QPSK. So QPSK is that 2 bits are needed. So we don't want all these things. Yeah, this constellation diagram. So as you go for higher order techniques, there will be what will happen? The constellation points will be compressed and they come closer to each other. Therefore, the errors in communication may happen when the channel is not in a good condition. Then we have this multiplexing techniques. So I think we cannot cover this today. So next class we will cover. So then the multiple access techniques are there. So here it's explained in a easy to understand manner compared to Timothy Pratt. So you can follow this if you want. Yeah, so even time is over, so I think I will stop here.